What's up everyone, my name is Adil and I'm a computer science student, and in this video I'm going to share a technique that I always use to scrape dynamically loaded websites. So this is a technique that I prefer to use before using Selenium. So this is just going to be me trying to show you what I do with Python, and maybe you'll learn something from this video, and maybe if I'm doing something wrong you can point that out to me so that I can improve on that. So that way we are helping each other. Yeah, so without wasting any more time, let's get right into this video. Right now, as you can see, I'm on this website called unsplash.com, and the goal here is to scrape images from this website. As you can see, this is a website which provides free images. You can use all these images in your websites, in your videos, or in your applications or whatever. So if we try to examine this website a little bit, if I scroll down, you can see as I'm scrolling down, more and more images are being added to this web page. So which means that this website is a dynamically loaded website. So what's happening in the background is JavaScript is sending a request to the backend server and fetching the data and updating that data on this web page in real time. My internet speed is very slow, that's why it's taking a lot of time to load all these images. But if you have a high-speed internet, these will load really fast. So if you have a little bit experience with web scraping in Python, you might know that we can't scrape dynamically loaded website directly by requests or beautiful soup. We can use something like Selenium, but I don't like a browser window popping up on my screen every time I try to scrape something. So I'll always try to do something else before using Selenium. Selenium is my last option. So in this video, I'll show you a technique that I always use in order to scrape these kinds of websites. So what I always try to do is I go to the developer tools. You can go to the developer tools by right clicking and then selecting inspect element, and this thing will pop up on your screen and you need to go to this networks tab. So what I'll always try to do is I'll check this XHR. I'll keep this thing checked, and if I have a search box on a website, I'll search for something. So let's say I search for dog. As you can see, as I search for dog, some requests are being sent to the backend server, and one of these requests is this one. It looks very interesting. But first, let me tell you, whenever you are trying to do this process, always look for those requests which are JSON. So right now we have 3 JSON requests, but this one is looking very interesting to me. That's because if you have worked with APIs, their URL is structured kind of this way. We have this search query and then we have per page. So it looks like an API request being sent to the backend server. So if we double click on this, it will load in a different tab, and you can see we have a huge JSON data here. So if we open this up, we have some results, we have some URLs. If I open this up, you can see this is an image of a dog. So if we open this one, this is the same image but in a bigger resolution. So I think all these things right here, raw, full, regular, small, thumb, these are the resolutions. So what we have done is we have hacked our way into the backend API of this website. So now we have access to the whole data that this website is using in order to load all these images. So if we have access to the data, we can extract these images very easily. We don't need to use beautiful soup at all. We can only use request library in order to do this job. Also, I'm going to show you some tricks that you can use in order to not get blocked by Unsplash servers. But there is one more thing. You might be wondering, why not use an API that this website is providing us? In fact, it is providing an API and you can use that. But there's going to be a restrictions, and the restrictions are going to be you can only send 50 requests per day or something like that. So if you are trying to scrape some images for some fun project, then this is the way to go. If you don't want any restrictions on you, then this is the way to go. So now we'll start creating a script and we will start scraping these images. I'll show you how we can create a script in order to scrape all these images now. So what I'll do is I'll go to my VS Code. You can use any other text editor that you like, and we will start coding. Right now I'm inside Visual Studio Code and I have created a file on splash.py. Let's go to the browser again and let's try to examine this link a little bit. You can see we are searching for the dog, so it's stored inside this query parameter of this URL, and we have one more parameter which is XP set to none. We have per page set to 20 and page set to 2. So if we try to change these parameters, so if we search for cat, let's see if we get images of cats. So if I open it up, open the URLs. So if we open it up, you can see we get an image of a cat. So it's working perfectly. So the other thing that we need to see is we need to see which method this request is using. So it's using a get method. Also, let's change this page parameter to 0. So yes, we got a response. So the page numbering is starting from 0, and whatever we want to search for, we need to change this query parameter, and this per page means pictures or images per page. So each request will get us 20 pictures, and I believe that the maximum images that this API allows is 50. So we will look about that later on. So let's copy this URL now, and we are going to define a variable URL, and we are going to paste it inside here. Next, we will import requests module. So I'll say import requests, and now we will send a request. So I can say r equals to requests dot get, pass in the URL, and we are going to print r dot status underscore code. So if I save it, run the code, let's see what we get. We are getting a status code of 200, which means okay. So which means that we have successfully made a get request to this URL, and we got a response back. So now what I can do is I can define one more variable data and set it equal to r.json. So this will fetch all the JSON data. So if I print data, let's see if we get the JSON data. Yes, we are getting all the JSON data here. So what I'll do is now I'll run a for loop. So I can say for item in data, and inside this data, if we come here, we have this results, and then we have all the pictures. So in here, we need to go to the results, and then we can loop through all those results. So inside here, I can say name equals to, if I come here, open up an image, you can see we have an ID, and this ID is unique for every picture on this API. So we can use this as our image name. So I can come here and say name equals to item ID. This will give me the ID that we just looked here. After that, what I'll do is I'll also get the URL of the image. So I can say URL equals to item URLs, and inside here, let's say we first get the thumbs. What I have done here is we first need to go inside this URLs, and inside here we have some options. These are actually the resolutions. So this raw is the highest resolution, this thumb is the lowest resolution. So whichever resolution you want to scrape, you can put it inside these square brackets here, and you will get image in that resolution. So now the only thing left to do is to save the image. So we can say with open name plus dot jpg, and we want the mode to be write bytes, and we are going to say as f dot write requests dot get url dot content. So if we save this file and run our code, let's see what we get. We have an error thumbs. We have a key error thumbs. So if we come here, it's actually thumb, not thumbs. So if we run the code again, let's see what happens. You can see some images are being downloaded to this folder. Let's open some. Yes, we are successfully downloading some images. If I reveal this in File Explorer, so you can see it here, we have downloaded these images using this script. So our code works perfectly, but I don't recommend you to, let me first delete all these, but I don't recommend you to code any scraper like this. Yeah, it works perfectly, it works fine, but if you want to create scalable programs, and if you want to be able to maintain your code and add new features later on, then this is the worst way to go. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of all this code. All right, and I'm going to create a class. So I'll create a class, name it unsplash. All right, and we'll define a constructor inside this class. So I can say def underscore underscore init underscore underscore parentheses pass in the self. If you don't know what a constructor is a method that will be automatically called whenever we instantiate an object of a class. So what we will do inside this constructor is we will take in few arguments. So the first one is going to be search underscore term, and the second one is going to be the per underscore page. And then we will set some attributes to our class. So the first one is going to be self dot search underscore term, and we will set it equal to search underscore term. The second one is going to be self dot per underscore page, and set it equal to per underscore page. All right. Next thing that we will do is we will create a method that will set our URL. So I can say def set underscore URL and pass in the self. And inside here, what we will do is we will format this URL in such a way that this hard-coded cat search query will be changed whatever we will pass in inside this search term, and this per page will be changed accordingly to this per underscore page attribute of our class. So we can grab this URL from here, cut it, paste it down here, and we need to get rid of this thing here, and we will create an f string. And instead of saying cat here, which is a hard-coded string, we can give two curly braces and say self dot search underscore term. And in here we can say curly braces self dot per underscore page. And we also need to change this page equal to self dot page. And of course we need to define self dot page attribute of our class here, and we are going to set the default value to 1, actually 0. So then we can return this f string. So what we have done here is we have formatted our URL in such a way that whatever we want to search for will be inserted in this query parameter of our URL. After that, we will make a request. So I'll create a method make underscore request, and it will also take self. And inside here, we first need to define URL and set it equal to self dot set underscore URL. So this will give us URL, and then we can make a request. So we can say requests dot request and pass in the request method, which is get in our case, and URL. So after that, we are going to return this. So this function make underscore request will return the response that we will get from this request. After that, what we need to do is we need to get the data. So we can say def get underscore data and pass in self, and inside here we can say self dot data. So we are setting one more attribute to our class, which is data, and we are setting it equal to make underscore request. And we need to add .json at the end in order to get the JSON data. So far what we have done is we have created a method that sets our URL and one more method that makes a request, and now we are getting the data. And now what we can do is we can create one more method that will dynamically create the file paths for us. So let's create def save underscore path and pass in self, and it's also going to take an argument which will be the name. So inside here we can define one more variable download underscore dir and set it equal to unsplash. So what I'm trying to do here is wherever my file is stored, so wherever this file is located, I want to create a directory named unsplash, and then I'll save all the images inside that folder. So in order to do that, I first need to check if that directory exists in my current working directory or not. So to do that, I can say if os.path.exists and pass in this download dir. Actually it's if not, because I'm going to check if this directory does not exist in my current working directory, then os.make dir download dir. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm checking if this unsplash directory doesn't exist in my current working directory, then go ahead and make that directory. So we also need to import OS here. So I'll say import OS. After we have done that, what we can do now is we can define a file path. So we'll start by getting the full path to our current working directory. So I can say os.get cwd. So this function will give us the current working directory, and I'm going to wrap it inside this os.path.realpath function. What this function will do is it will dereference all the symbolic links on the operating systems that support them. So this line of code here right now, it's giving us the absolute path to our current working directory. And then we can join this unsplash directory with this path. And then we also need to join this name to that path. Also, we need to add an extension. So what I'll do is I'll use one more function, os.path.join. And this os.path.join will join all the paths that we provide to it as an argument. So the first path, so the first argument that we are giving it is our absolute path to our current working directory. The second argument we will give it will be the download dir, which is the unsplash dir, and then the name, and then we are going to store it inside an f string. So I'll do something like this. And at the end, we will add an extension .jpg. So now we have created a method that will give us, and that will generate file paths for us in order to save our images. Next, we need to create a method that will download an image. So I can say def download, and it's going to take self and URL to the image that we want to download and the name that we want to set in order to save that image. And inside here, we are going to first define file path and set it equal to self.save_path. It's save and pass in name. And then we can say with open file path, comma, the mode is going to be write bytes as f. And what we are going to do here is we are going to say f.write requests.request, set the method equal to get, and we are going to pass in the URL, and then we are going to say .content. So what we have done here inside this download method is we have first fetched the file name that we are going to use in order to save our image, and we are going to do that by using this save_path method. Then we are opening up a file with this file path and name, and we are opening it in a write byte mode, and then we are sending a request to this URL and getting the content of the image and writing that content inside our file. So this method will download an image. So now we will define a method named scraper. So this is going to be the method where we do all the scraping. So this is going to take self as always, and it's going to take pages as an argument. And inside here, we are going to run a for loop. So we are going to say for page in pages. All right. And we are going to, actually it's not pages, it's page in range 0, pages plus 1. And then inside here, we will now start scraping our images. So if we come here, we first need to get inside this results, and then we will be able to scrape all the images as we have seen before. So now inside this for loop, what we need to do first is we need to make a request. So we can say self.make_request. All right. And then we need to say self.get_data. So after we have called this get_data method, we now have data to work on. So now we can say for item in self.data, and we need to go to the results, and now we can scrape each images one by one. So like before, we are going to set name equals to item ID and URL equal to item, let's say URLs, and we used thumbs in that first example, so let's use that again, just like this. But this is not the right way to go, because if we come here, you can see we have 5 different resolutions for our image. So we can define one more argument in our constructor that's going to be the quality. So quality equals to, let's keep it thumbs just for testing purposes, and we are also going to set this per page equals to 20. So now we can pass in any of these things, any of these resolutions here inside our constructor parameter, and we will get image of that quality. So URL equals to, now inside, so now instead of saying thumb, we can say self.quality. And also we need to create that attribute here. We can say self.quality equals to quality. All right. And now all we need to do is we need to say self.download, and we can pass in the URL, which is going to be the URL, and we will pass in the name. So that's it. So now we can test our code. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to instantiate this Unsplash. So I can say scraper equals to Unsplash. All right. And it will take the search term as an argument. So let's say we want to search for cars, and then we can say scraper dot scraper, and let's say we want to loop through just one page. So before running our code, we need to come here and write this thing here, self.make_request, and we also need to return this app string from this method. So we forgot to do these things and we are doing them now. So we are all set. So before running the code, let me show you. This is my current working directory, and we don't have a directory named Unsplash here. So our code should first create that directory, then save all the images inside that directory. So if I save our file and run this code, let's see what will happen. So a directory named Unsplash has been created, and we are getting some images inside it. If we reveal it in File Explorer, you can see we are getting images of car. So you can see the images are getting downloaded one after another. So it's working fine. It's working perfectly. So we can close this and let's break our program by pressing Ctrl+C. So now we are successful in scraping images, but now we need to add few more things in order to not get blocked from the servers. So the first thing that we can add to our script, which will save us from getting blocked from the servers, is that we can add headers to our script. So I can come here and I can define another attribute to my class that's going to be self.headers. So I can fetch those headers by coming here and clicking here on the headers, and if you see down here we have the request headers. So these are the headers that will be sent whenever we try to send a request on this URL. So I'll copy all of these and I'll come here and say self.headers, and I'll create a dictionary just like this. So only keep these headers that I have kept here, and I have deleted few of them. So we are only going to use these headers. So after we have created a dictionary of headers, we can come down here in the make request method and add one more parameter here that's going to be headers equals to self.headers. All right. And we can come down here as well and say headers equals to self.headers. So what we also can do is we can use proxies. So inside this request or request method, we have one more argument, that's the proxies, and it's going to take a dictionary of proxies just like we added the headers. So if you buy some good proxies and use them inside your scrapers, then you need to use them very cleverly, and if you do that, then there are less chances of you getting blocked from the servers. And there are a few more things that we can do about not getting blocked, but this video is getting too long. We'll do that maybe in the next video. And also, if we come down here, when we are looping through pages, we need to add one more line inside here. So after we are done looping one page, we need to update this self.pages value by 1. So I can say self.pages plus equals to 1. So now there might be some bugs here and there. We can fix them in the next video, and we can refactor this code a little bit. We can do more of a refactoring on this code. Yeah, we will do that in the next video as well. And we can add few more features, like we can add a method that will return a pillow object that we can directly use in some image processing, or we can create a method that will return a Tkinter photo image object or a Tkinter photo image that then we can directly use on our Tkinter applications. So we can add lots of features here, and also we are going to add this line of code, if name equals to main, and we are going to grab this and indent it just like this. So yeah, this video is getting too long. I'll do the rest of the things in the next video. So if you want me to create another video, if you like this video, do let me know down in the comment section, then I'll definitely create the second part of this video. And if you have any questions, you can comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, peace out.